One princess bride, 3 royal wives, the ritual that claimed them all. The forbidden rescue. The impact shattered more than just Jaren Thorne's ship. It cracked open the carefully ordered world of Valinthia's youngest princess. Amora Solon moved through the moonlit palace gardens like liquid starlight, her ceremonial robes whispering against ancient stone paths. The twin moons cast her copper hair in ethereal silver as she sought solace from another suffocating state dinner. At 19 cycles, she perfected the art of smiling while dying inside, the perfect, obedient princess who never questioned, never wanted, never lived. The crash's thunderous echo sent nightbirds scattering. Amora's heart hammered as she followed the smoke trail to the forbidden forest edge where a twisted metal pod hissed and sparked among the crystal trees. Inside, slumped against torn restraints, was something impossible. A human. Male. Bleeding from a gash across his temple, his dark hair matted with blood, but somehow still beautiful in his strangeness. His flight suit bore unfamiliar symbols, an explorer, perhaps, or diplomat from the distant human territories. Every law, every teaching, screamed at her to alert the guards. Contact with outsiders meant death for both parties. But his chest rose and fell with such fragile determination that Amora found herself reaching through the wreckage, her fingers trembling as they touched warm skin. His eyes fluttered open, startling hazel flecked with gold. "Am I dead?" he whispered. "Because you look like something from heaven." Despite everything, Amora laughed. "Not dead. But you will be if anyone finds you." She should have called for help. Instead, she used skills learned from her secret medical studies to assess his injuries. Cracked ribs, possible concussion, but nothing fatal if treated. The decision crystallized like ice in her heart. "Can you walk?" she asked urgently. With motivation, he managed, offering a pained smile that somehow reached his eyes. "I'm Jaren." "Princess Amora," she replied automatically, then winced. "Though that complicates things." "Understood. So, Your Highness, are you going to save me or watch me die?" The question cut through 19 years of obedience. Amora pulled his arm around her shoulders, steadying him against her smaller frame. "The crystal caves. No one goes there after dark. Can you make it?" "For you? I'll crawl if I have to." They stumbled through shadows, every sound a potential threat. Amora's mind raced. She was committing treason, risking her family's throne, destroying everything she'd been raised to protect. Yet Jaren's weight against her side felt more real than any crown. The caves glowed with natural bioluminescence, casting their faces in blue-green light. Amora settled Jaren onto a bed of soft moss, her hands gentle as she cleaned his wounds with water from an underground spring. "Why are you doing this?" he asked quietly. Her fingers stilled against his temple. "Because I'm tired of being perfect. Because you looked at me like I was real. Because for once, I want to choose something for myself. Because it's right," she said instead. His hand caught hers. "Thank you." That touch ignited something dangerous. Over the following nights, as Amora smuggled medicine and food, their conversations deepened. Jaren spoke of distant Earth, of stars she'd only read about, of a culture where women could be warriors or scholars or anything they dreamed. She shared her suffocating reality, the endless expectations, the loneliness of being one-third of a whole, never seen as simply Amora. "You're extraordinary," Jaren said one night, firelight from her illicit lamp dancing in his healing features. "Not because you're a princess. Because of who you choose to be when no one's watching." The kiss happened like gravity, inevitable, desperate, perfect. His hands tangled in her copper hair as she pressed against him, both knowing this was madness but unable to stop. Her lips parted under his, tasting possibility and freedom and everything forbidden. "We can't," she whispered against his mouth. "I know," he agreed, pulling her closer. But they already had. The ritual of 3. The inevitable discovery came wrapped in morning light and her sister's fury. Amora returned to find Cassia Solon waiting in her chambers, arms crossed over her ceremonial armor. The crown princess stood tall and commanding, her raven hair pulled into an intricate warrior's braid, silver eyes cold as winter moons. "Guards reported someone entering the forbidden caves nightly," Cassia said, her voice dangerously soft. Imagine my surprise discovering my baby sister harboring a human fugitive. Amora's blood froze. Cassia, please. He'll be executed at dawn. You'll be confined until the scandal fades. Cassia turned toward the door. Wait. Desperation clawed at Amora's throat. The Starlight Covenant. I invoke it. Cassia spun back, disbelief cracking her composure. You can't be serious. That ritual hasn't been used in 3 centuries. It grants any royal the right to claim a consort through sacred marriage, offering them immediate protection under imperial law. Amora lifted her chin. I claim Geren Thorn as my husband. You foolish child. But something flickered in Cassia's eyes, not anger, but fear. Do you even understand what you're invoking? Before Amora could respond, their middle sister Nissa glided into the room, honey-blonde hair cascading over silk robes. Her sapphire eyes gleamed with dangerous intelligence. The Trinity clause, Nissa said softly. She doesn't know. What clause? Amora demanded. Nissa pulled an ancient tome from Amora's shelf, fingers tracing archaic script. The Starlight Covenant was designed to prevent royal bloodline division. When one princess of the Imperial Trinity weds, the bond extends to all 3 sisters, 1 husband, 3 wives, eternally bound. The words hit like physical blows. That can't be. It's why the ritual fell into disuse, Cassia said bitterly. Our ancestors found it too complicated. She moved to the window, shoulders rigid. But once invoked, it cannot be undone. The bonding ceremony must be completed within 3 moonrises, or all 4 participants die. Amora's mind reeled. She doomed not just herself but her sisters to this impossible union. I'm sorry. I didn't know. Done is done. Nissa's expression turned calculating. The question is whether we let pride kill us all or adapt. You can't seriously be considering this, Cassia snapped. I'm considering survival. Nissa circled the room like a predator. Tell me, Amora, what makes this human worth dying for? Everything, Amora whispered. He sees me. Not Princess Amora, not 1/3 of the Imperial Trinity, just me. Something vulnerable flashed across Cassia's face before her armor snapped back. Bring him to the celestial chamber tonight. We complete the ritual, or we all face oblivion. The ceremony began under twin moons, in a chamber carved from single crystal. Geren stood in traditional consort robes, looking overwhelmed but resolute. Amora had explained everything. His choice was marriage to 3 women or death for them all. I won't force this on anyone, he'd said quietly. If your sisters refuse, I'll face execution. Noble, Cassia had replied when they met. But unnecessary. I value my life, even if it means sharing a husband. Now they formed a circle, hands joined through ancient ritual. The high priestess chanted in old tongue as starlight gathered around them, weaving visible threads between their hearts. Amora felt the bond snap into place, a living connection that suddenly made her aware of her sister's emotions like never before. Cassia's carefully hidden loneliness crashed over her. Nissa's deep-seated fear of never being truly known. And beneath it all, Geren's overwhelming awe and determination to honor them all. The priestess spoke the final words. 3 hearts, 1 bond. 3 crowns, 1 consort. What the stars have joined, let none sunder. Power surged through them. When it faded, intricate silver marks traced their wrists, the physical manifestation of their union. Well, Nissa said into the charged silence, her gaze fixed on Geren with new intensity. This should prove interesting. Cassia's jaw tightened, but she didn't pull away when Geren gently squeezed her hand. I know this isn't what any of you wanted, he said quietly. But I promise to honor each of you, if you'll let me. Pretty words, Cassia replied. We'll see if actions follow. Hearts in conflict. The royal wings redesigned chambers forced proximity none of them wanted. Traditional law required bonded consorts to share living spaces during the first lunar cycle. The harmony period meant to solidify their connection. 4 people, 1 suite. Tension thick enough to cut. Geren tried to give them space, sleeping on the observation deck while the sisters claimed separate bedrooms. But the bond hummed between them constantly, making privacy an illusion. Amora felt her sister's restlessness as clearly as her own racing heart. 5 nights in, everything changed. Amora woke to raised voices. She found Cassia on the training balcony, practicing sword forms with vicious intensity, while Jeren watched from the doorway. "You should be sleeping," Cassia said without breaking rhythm. "So should you." Jeren leaned against the frame. "Want to talk about what's bothering you?" "What could possibly bother me?" Her blade whistled through air. "I'm forced to share a husband with my sisters because the youngest couldn't keep her bleeding heart in check. That's not fair to Amora." "Fair?" Cassia's laugh was sharp as her sword. "Nothing about this is fair. I've spent my entire life preparing to rule alone. Now I'm tied to a human who'll never understand what it means to carry a crown." Jeren stepped onto the balcony. "You're right. I don't understand your burden. But I see what it costs you." "You see nothing." But her movements faltered. "I see someone so afraid of appearing weak that she's forgotten how to be human." He moved closer. "When did you last let yourself just feel something?" The sword clattered to the ground. "You don't get to," but her voice cracked. Then Jeren did something unexpected. He pulled her into his arms. Cassia stiffened, but he held firm. "It's okay," he murmured. "You can be angry. You can hate this situation. But you don't have to carry it alone anymore." Something broke inside the crown princess. Her shoulders shook as decades of suppressed emotion poured out. Jeren held her through it all, his strength quiet but unshakable. When Cassia finally pulled back, her silver eyes were raw but clear. "I don't know how to do this," she admitted. "Neither do I. But maybe we figure it out together." Their kiss was nothing like the gentle passion Jeren shared with Amora. This was fire and need, years of loneliness combusting between them. Cassia pulled him close with warrior strength, claiming his mouth with desperate hunger. His hands tangled in her loosened braid as they stumbled against the balcony wall, the twin moons bearing witness to surrender neither thought possible. When they finally broke apart, breathing hard, Cassia touched her swollen lips in wonder. "This complicates everything." "Or simplifies it," Jeren suggested, tucking a raven strand behind her ear. From the shadows, Amora retreated to her room, heart full of unexpected joy. Her sister was finally letting herself live. But the harmony period demanded more than stolen moments. 2 nights later, Jeren found Nissa in the observatory, surrounded by star charts and ancient texts. She looked up as he entered, sapphire eyes reflecting starlight. "Couldn't sleep?" she asked. "Your curiosity is loud through the bond." He smiled. "What are you researching?" "Us. The Trinity clause. I want to understand why our ancestors created something so." She gestured vaguely. "Complicated? Unconventional? Powerful?" Nissa's gaze turned assessing. "You've won over Amora's heart and cracked Cassia's armor. Now you're here for the final conquest." "I'm here because you're part of this bond whether either of us planned it. And because you fascinate me." "Fascinate?" Her laugh was low, seductive. "Men usually find me intimidating." "You are intimidating. That's part of the fascination." Jeren sat across from her, careful not to disturb her charts. "Amora says you've read every book in the Royal Library twice. That you can debate philosophy in 6 languages. That you see patterns others miss. Flattery from my sister's scouting reports. Observation from our bond. I feel your mind working constantly, questioning, analyzing, never settling for surface answers." He leaned forward. "What do you really want to know, Nissa?" She studied him for a long moment. "Whether you're real. Whether this connection I feel is genuine or just ritual magic forcing compatibility. There's one way to find out." Nissa rose, moving around the table with predatory grace. She straddled his lap, hands framing his face as she searched his expression. "If I kiss you, I want it to be because we choose it. Not because ancient laws demand it." Then choose, Jeren whispered. Her mouth descended on his, not frantic like Cassia's passion, but deliberate, exploratory, testing every angle and response. Jeren let her control the pace, his hands respectful on her waist until she guided them higher, gasping when his fingers traced her spine. Definitely real, she murmured against his lips, then kissed him deeper. Their connection evolved over hours, talking until words gave way to touches, intellectual sparring dissolving into physical need. When dawn broke, Nissa lay against his chest, satisfaction evident in her sleepy smile. This won't be simple, she warned. Nothing worth having is. Amora found them there, tangled together among scattered star charts. Instead of jealousy, she felt completion, like pieces of a puzzle finally aligning. She joined them, curling into Jeren's other side. We're really doing this, she whispered. All of us. Apparently. But Jeren's voice held wonder, not resignation. When Cassia discovered them an hour later, she paused in the doorway. Pride and duty warred with something deeper, the longing for belonging she denied herself for years. Slowly, she crossed the room and settled beside her sisters. 4 hearts, one imperfect, complicated, beautiful bond. The harmony period was proving far more transformative than ancient ritual ever intended. United against the throne. The fragile peace shattered with an assassination attempt. Jeren woke to searing pain, the bond screaming warning through his veins. He rolled from bed as energy blasts scorched where his head had been seconds before. 3 figures in stealth armor emerged from shadows, weapons trained on him. The human dies tonight, the lead assassin hissed. The sacred bloodline will not be contaminated. But they'd underestimated the Trinity Clause's true power. Cassia crashed through the balcony entrance, her ceremonial blade singing death. She moved like violence incarnate, disarming one attacker before he could react. Touch my husband and lose more than your weapons. Nissa appeared from the study, her voice weaving ancient defensive incantations that froze the second assassin mid-strike. Did you really think we wouldn't ward our own chambers? Foolish. Amora pulled Jeren behind her, medical training forgotten as protective fury blazed. His under imperial protection. You attack him, you attack us all. The bond thrummed between them, for hearts beating as one coordinated force. Jeren felt their emotions cascade through the connection. Cassia's battle-calm precision, Nissa's calculating strategy, Amora's fierce determination. It centered him, transformed fear into focused action. When the third assassin lunged for Amora, Jeren intercepted with speed born from their shared reflexes. He'd absorbed combat technique through Cassia's portion of the bond, moved with confidence he'd never possessed alone. His strike was clean, efficient, disabling without killing. The royal guard arrived to find 3 conspirators subdued and 4 bonded consorts standing unified, breathing hard but unbroken. Take them for interrogation, Cassia commanded, every inch the crown princess. I want names of everyone involved in this plot. As guards dragged the assassins away, Amora checked Jeren for injuries, her hands trembling with residual adrenaline. Are you hurt? I'm fine. He caught her hands, then reached for Cassia and Nissa, pulling them close. We're all fine. Because we fought together. The bond, Nissa breathed, wonder in her voice. It's not just emotional connection. We can share skills, reactions, even thoughts in crisis. Cassia's expression hardened with new understanding. Which makes us more dangerous than any individual ruler. That's why they're trying to destroy this union. The interrogations revealed a conspiracy reaching into the highest court circles. Nobles who viewed Jeren's human bloodline as corruption, who feared the unprecedented power of 4 bonded rulers. Lord Chancellor Vection led the faction, his influence poisoning half the Imperial Council. We need to address this publicly, Nissa said during their war council. She transformed a sitting room into strategic headquarters, charts and intelligence reports covering every surface. Show the court that our bond strengthens the empire rather than weakening it. They'll never accept a human consort, Cassia countered, pacing like a caged predator. Tradition runs too deep. Then we change tradition. Jeren spoke quietly, but all 3 sisters turned to him. Your people fear what they don't understand. Let me bridge that gap. Over the next weeks, Jeren became their secret weapon. His outsider perspective identified inefficiencies in imperial bureaucracy that generations of tradition-blind rulers had missed. He proposed trade agreements with human territories that would triple Valinthia's economic power. Most importantly, he won the common people's hearts through genuine compassion, visiting marketplaces with Amora, discussing philosophy in public forums with Nissa, training alongside soldiers with Cassir. The bond deepened with every shared challenge. Late nights found all four tangled together, plotting strategy between stolen kisses. Cassir's walls crumbled completely as she learned to balance duty with desire, often pulling Jeren to her chambers after war councils for passionate release. Nissa orchestrated elaborate seductions in the library, proving that intellectual and physical connection could be equally intoxicating. Amora remained the heart binding them all, her gentle love the foundation they built upon. But their enemies weren't finished. Vection demanded a formal tribunal, citing ancient law that required unanimous council approval for unconventional consort arrangements. The Trinity Clause may bind them, but we decide if such union serves the Empire's interests, he declared before packed court chambers. For 3 days, the sisters and Jeren faced brutal questioning. Nobles attacked from every angle: Jeren's humanity, the impropriety of shared marriage, the danger of foreign influence. Cassir defended with warrior's ferocity, Nissa countered with unassailable logic, but the council remained divided. Then Amora did something unprecedented. She requested to speak not as princess, but as citizen. "You want to know if this bond serves our empire?" She stood before the assembly, copper hair blazing in throne room light. "It already has. Our combined strength defeated assassination attempts. Our unified vision created economic opportunities you're too blind to see. And our love, yes, love, reminds us that crowns mean nothing without hearts willing to fight for something greater than tradition." She turned to her sisters and Jeren, voice breaking with emotion. "They see scandal. I see the first time Cassir smiled without armor. The first time Nissa trusted someone with her vulnerabilities. The first time I chose my own destiny instead of accepting what others planned." Her gaze swept the council. "Judge us if you must. But know that tearing us apart destroys the strongest thing this empire has ever created." Silence filled the chamber. Then, slowly, the common observers began to applaud. It spread like wildfire, servants, low-ranking officials, even some noble houses joining until the sound became thunderous. Vection's face purpled with rage, but he'd lost. Public opinion had turned, and even the traditionalist council members couldn't ignore their people's voice. The Emperor himself, ancient and wise beyond measure, finally spoke. "The Trinity Clause exists for moments like this, when love and duty align to create something stronger than law alone. I recognize this union as legitimate and binding." Victory tasted sweet, but the battle had cost them. As they returned to their chambers that night, exhaustion weighed heavy. Yet when they came together, for bodies seeking comfort and connection, it felt like coming home. Jeren held them each in turn, feeling their relief and lingering fear through the bond. "We survived," he whispered. "Together." "Always together," Cassir agreed, her kiss fierce with possessive pride. "The mathematics were in our favor," Nissa added with tired humor, though her embrace was tight with need. Amora simply curled against them all, her contentment radiating through their connection like warm light. This was her family now, complicated, unconventional, perfect in its imperfection. The Empire was learning what they already knew: some bonds transcend tradition, and love multiplied is never divided. The four who rule as one. 6 months after the tribunal, Valinthia celebrated a coronation unlike any in history. 4 thrones stood on the dais, 3 for the imperial sisters, 1 for their shared consort. Jeren wore ceremonial robes blending human and Valinthian design, symbols of 2 cultures finally united. As the crown of first consort regent settled on his head, he felt the bond pulse with his wife's pride and love. "Rise, co-regent Jeren Thorn," the emperor proclaimed. "You who claimed 3 hearts and earned an empire's respect." The crowd's cheer was deafening. What began as scandal had transformed into legend. The human who loved so wholly that ancient magic bound him to 3 extraordinary women, and they to each other in ways that transcended romantic tradition. But the true coronation happened in private moments. Jaren found Cassia in the war room days later, reviewing defense strategies. She looked up as he entered, silver eyes soft in ways they'd never been before their bond. "Come to distract me from duty again." But she was already standing, moving into his arms. "Always." He kissed her deeply, tasting her fierce spirit. "How's my warrior queen today?" "Better now." Her smile was genuine, unguarded. "I never thought I'd find someone who could stand beside me in battle and still make me feel safe. That's what partners do." He traced the silver mark on her wrist, their bond made visible. "You don't have to carry everything alone anymore." Cassia pulled him closer, her kiss turning heated. They made love against the strategy table, her strength meeting his devotion in perfect balance. Later, as she lay across his chest catching her breath, she whispered, "I love you. I should say it more." "I know it in every moment we share," he assured her. "Through every decision we make together." With Nissa, days blended intellectual stimulation with sensual discovery. She orchestrated their encounters like she did everything, with careful planning that somehow left room for spontaneous passion. They'd debate philosophy until words became touches, her brilliant mind the ultimate aphrodisiac. "You've ruined me for boring conversations," she complained one evening, sprawled naked among research papers in their private library. "Now I expect stimulating discourse with my seduction." Jaren laughed, pulling her back into his arms. "Complaining? Never." Her sapphire eyes gleamed with satisfaction. "Though I'm writing a treatise on the Trinity Clause's sociological implications. You've given me endless material. Happy to contribute to academic advancement." Their lovemaking was exploratory, playful, each encounter teaching them new ways to pleasure each other. Nissa approached intimacy like she did research, dedicated to mastering every detail until Jaren was gasping her name in helpless ecstasy. But Amora remained his foundation. She was gentleness and acceptance, the love that had started everything. They stole moments in the gardens where they'd first met, her copper hair glowing in moonlight as she kissed him with tender devotion. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked one night. "How complicated we've made your life." "Not even for a second." He cradled her face. "You gave me everything I never knew I needed: love, purpose, family. 3 incredible women who challenge and complete me in different ways." "We're so different," Amora mused. "Cassia's strength, Nissa's intellect, my compassion. Separately we're powerful, but together you're unstoppable." He kissed her softly. "And I'm honored to stand beside all of you." The bond they shared became their greatest asset in governing. Cassia's military brilliance, Nissa's diplomatic genius, Amora's connection to common citizens, and Jaren's innovative human perspectives combined into leadership that revolutionized the empire. Trade flourished, old conflicts found peaceful resolution, and other star systems began requesting similar bonding arrangements, turning scandal into diplomatic trend. One year after the ceremony, they stood together on the palace balcony watching twin moons rise. Amora leaned into Jaren's left side, Cassia claimed his right, and Nissa pressed against his back, her arms wrapping them all. "I've been calculating probability," Nissa said thoughtfully. "The odds of everything aligning, your crash, Amora finding you, the Trinity Clause, our successful union, it's astronomically unlikely." "Fate," Amora suggested softly. "Strategy," Cassia countered with a smile. "Love," Jaren concluded. "Just love that refused to follow rules." They stood together as 4 became one, different hearts beating in synchronized rhythm, 3 queens and their consort who'd proven that the strongest empires are built not on tradition, but on choosing each other every single day. Below them, the city sparkled with celebration. Above them, stars witnessed the impossible made real. And between them, the bond hummed with contentment, passion, trust, and a love that had claimed not just hearts, but an entire galaxy's imagination. Some nights they made love individually, Jaren worshipping each wife with focused devotion. Other nights they came together as 4, a tangle of limbs and pleasure where boundaries dissolved into shared ecstasy. The bond made every touch more intense, every climax rippling through all of them in waves of connection that transcended physical pleasure. "This is our empire now," Cassia declared, surveying their kingdom. built on strength. And wisdom, Nissa added, kissing Jeren's shoulder. And love, Amora finished, her smile radiant. Jeren held his three queens close, feeling complete in ways he'd never imagined possible. Our empire, he agreed. Our bond. Our forever. The stars agreed, their light blessing four souls who'd rewritten destiny itself. Lessons from the celestial bond. Love multiplies rather than divides. Opening your heart to multiple connections doesn't diminish what you feel. It expands your capacity for compassion, understanding, and joy. The sisters discovered that sharing Jeren's love didn't reduce their individual bonds with him, but rather enriched all their relationships, including with each other. True strength comes from vulnerability. Cassia's walls protected her from nothing except genuine connection. Only when she allowed herself to be vulnerable, to admit fear, loneliness, and need, did she discover the power that comes from letting others share her burdens. The strongest leaders are those brave enough to show their humanity. Unconventional paths often lead to extraordinary destinations. Society's expectations and traditions are guides, not absolute rules. Amora's mistake in saving Jeren became the catalyst for revolutionary change because she dared to follow her heart despite conventions. The most meaningful lives are often those that color outside the lines.